like to start this out by saying that I'm really fucking sick of this narrative, and I wanted to address it. Before I dive in, there's a little background I wanted to know about the subject, and in particularly this whole claim Russia was involved with the election. I do feel it's important to establish my credentials on this topic, not for an appeal to authority, but to state that I do kind of know something about this particular field. I've been in IT for over 20 years. I've been doing IT work in security for the last 10. So when I say that Russia had no involvement and did not hack the election or hack the emails or anything of the sort, believe me when I tell you that that is not a possible thing unless there was a vulnerability. No, what we really have here is a leak. So let me get down through it. Clinton and the Democratic Party and the election were not manipulated by Russia. I've been watching the feeds from both sides of the stories, the commentary that exposes it, the rhetoric around this hack claim, and everything in between. From a technical standpoint, it didn't happen. And here are my reasons. This all started after Clinton lost the election to Trump. When the emails of Clinton started to be a problem, the Clinton campaign started pointing fingers at the Russians and WikiLeaks. So it's only appropriate that I start my analysis there. The CIA, the FBI, and other intelligence agencies have analyzed this situation from multiple angles and have all concluded that there's no physical evidence that those emails were provided by Russian agents. Assange and his crew at WikiLeaks also confirmed the same conclusion. But none of that is actually the reason I agree with this conclusion. In fact, there's two reasons that I want to go over that I know the intelligence agencies in no way could determine those emails came from Russia, or that they were hacked from Russia, or that they were led to believe that they were communicated through Russia. Starting there, this bullshit about the Russian involvement all starts with a delusion from those that lost the election and their supporters. Clinton grew up in the Reagan years of the Cold War. It's no surprise that her entitled ass would simply think to blame Russia because it's convenient to point the finger. Those in the DNC are at odds with Russia in some sort or another. Russia is thought to be an enemy of the United States for various reasons, and all that stems from the age of Stalin. All that's happened between the U.S. and Russia, it's no surprise that the Democrats would like to blame Russia as they did. Well, let's get to the reasons why this entire farce has gone on long enough, and I'm quite sick of it. The first reason, the emails given to WikiLeaks were not obtained via a hack. There are some differentiating features that you need to know about this. First, this has been confirmed not by WikiLeaks themselves, but our security professionals as well. They were leaked by one of the Democrats' own. Let's start there. The difference between a leak and a hack is really simple. A leak is when someone either purposely or accidentally loses their device, their laptop, their personal handheld, whatever. They misuse it, they use it inappropriately, maybe they left it open while they were at Starbucks and somebody just walked over and sent their entire inbox to an alternate address. Or you could have somebody that has already access to those emails and they purposely give them away to WikiLeaks or another agency that will fully disclose it like Edward Snowden did. That type of thing is a leak and not a hack. A hack is when somebody breaks through the security system and gets what they want. In order for this to be a hack, someone would have to have broken through the security, firewalls, the encryption algorithms, and the whole 9 yards to gain access to the email servers of the DNC in order to grab those emails for whatever intention they had. Ironically, Clinton's home email server was vulnerable to these attacks because she did not put forth the proper safety protocols to secure her email server. So it is fully possible that the Russian government or North Korea or whoever hacked her emails. Fully possible because her security was laxed during the time of her hosting it in her own home. But I digress. With the way Clinton manages her email server, along with the DNC thinking they're smart but fail epically, it's entirely possible that it was hacked and stolen. However, it has been confirmed that one of their own leaked the emails via losing their own devices. Seems Podesta is the moron that let the leak happen by being irresponsible. Yet, even with that information, they all point to Russia being the perpetrators that gave their information over. Yet there's absolutely no way they can prove that. And here's how. Every email you send is tagged. Every time you send it from a different computer or a different location, that information is attached to the email. The term for this is metadata. Each and every email sent has metadata of some form. Even if you were to use something like Gorilla Mail, which spoofs email addresses, it still tags it with metadata. Spam filters use that metadata to filter out the garbage. That way they can tell it's sent from one address but is giving another from address that is not from the same server that the email is coming from. In other words, they can filter out obvious spam attempts from proxy addresses or what have you, and make it so you don't see those emails, protecting you from potential threats. That's entirely how a spam filter works. The reason this is so important when WikiLeaks got the information is they could possibly have had the metadata to go with the emails that came from the DNC. They can confirm or deny its origins. According to WikiLeaks, these emails were in fact from the DNC because they all marked the metadata from the DNC emails servers. You can tell this from their public IP address and from the URL and the DNS name that was attached in the metadata. These things are sent from the server itself and are possible to spoof, but highly unlikely. So if you talk to the security agencies of the United States, they do not have access to the metadata. So there's no way to determine whether or not those emails came from DNC or if they came from Russia themselves. If they did come from Russia, they would be tagged with Russian addresses. So in essence, they're bullshitting people by lying to everyone based on an ancient enemy of the United States. In reality, this is all they have, is the to, the from, the subject, and the body. They have nothing else but that information. Which leads me to my next point, and the reason why I find no Russian involvement in our election. My second point is more psychological. Why is it that the media, the Clinton and friends, DNC, and anybody else that was affected has yet to address the critical part of this leak? Not one of them has addressed the content of the leaks. They have had a field day with attacking the source. WikiLeaks, according to Clinton, is now a Russian agency hell-bent on destroying the United States. Not one agency, news or otherwise, not one person that has been affected has disavowed the content of the leaked emails. They have all attacked the organization that has exposed this communications, yet none of them have actually attempted to explain the communications and try to write them off as if they were false. And that is my 2 points, and I wanted to point the second one as being psychological for a very specific reason. There are several types of psychological defense mechanisms people use when they are confronted with things that challenge what they believe or what they hold true. The first and the lowest forms are denial, regression, acting out, disassociation, and compartmentalization. The denial that they did anything wrong in the first place is flagrantly obvious when they don't deny the content of the emails, but they do deny any wrongdoing. This is bothersome because the emails that are available contradict their story. So either they are lying or the emails are false, yet they never come out and say that the emails are false, only that they have done no wrong. One of the defense mechanisms that I think is very telling to this situation is displacement. It is the redirections of the thoughts or feelings toward themselves and taking it out on somebody else. In other words, they feel guilty for hacking the election themselves. And by this, I mean a social hack. They've contacted the media and tried to shame Bernie Sanders, for example. They contacted the media and tried to shame Donald Trump. They leaked the questions from the debates to Clinton to give her an unfair advantage. Yet none of this is the blame of them, it's everybody else but them. This displacement is a prime example of a defense mechanism when they got caught doing something they shouldn't have. In other words, the loads of guilt that they have is being displaced on Russia and everyone else, and is none of their fault. This is fairly obvious if you look at the new statements that have come out between CNN, who championed for Clinton throughout the entire ride, and other news networks that did the same, and Clinton herself, along with Debbie Wasserman Schultz and her friends in the DNC. All of them have tried to just point the finger at Russia because they all have agreed that Russia's involvement is what broke down the election. It had nothing to do with them and their unethical behaviors and everything to do with somebody else's unethical behaviors. In the end, no one has addressed that simple question. Are those emails truthful? Is the content valid? If either one of those questions have ever been addressed, by all means put it in the comments section, because I have never seen it. And I don't believe that it exists at this point in time because I've not seen it to date. The best that I have seen is this.
Also interesting is, remember, it's illegal to possess these stolen documents. It's different for the media. So everything you learn about this, you're learning from us. And in full disclosure, let's take a look at what is in there and what it means. Joining us now, CNC.
This statement is false. This is public information now. There is nothing to say that we did not have access to this information. If we were to subpoena the government under the Freedom of Information Act, we could have obtained all these emails ourselves. Of course, they would have washed them out and possibly deleted them if we knew that they existed. The Freedom of Information Act requires us to make very specific requests to get information from a government agency. So to request this specific information would have been very difficult to do had we not known that it existed. The leak itself has brought it to light, but no one has dared to question the content or validity of the emails. Instead, they displace the blame on a foreign government agency trying to make this geopolitical. In the end, I don't find any collusion with Russia. Even if today there is conversations between Trump and his administration and Russia, he is now the president. That is normal behavior to see in the government. If you have two opposing agencies, two opposing countries, it's better for them to come to a conclusion of mutual agreement rather than escalate things to war. And that seems to be where the Democratic Party wants us to go, is straight into a war and make an I told you so moment against the Trump administration. What a horrible thing to do. But that's all I have for this video. There is no collusion based on these emails, and it started from the emails. There is continued involvement with Russia because that's the job of the government, but now they're trying to point the finger at new conclusions and new rhetoric where there is no evidence. Until there is evidence, nothing has happened. I am not going to fall in line with this Russian collusion based on a premise that starts with emails that they could never prove came from Russia. Furthermore, they can't even prove that they're not real. Try reading WikiLeaks and find out just how bad they don't want you to read WikiLeaks.